When we send our soldiers into war, we prepare them to face all sorts of threats that the enemy might pose. But military investigators say it was not an enemy fighter who killed 2 New York Army National Guard soldiers in the battlefield in Iraq. They say it was another soldier, and that soldier did it on purpose, targeting a superior officer who repeatedly reprimanded him. There's a military term for that. It's called fragging. In perhaps one of the most disturbing Iraq war stories many Americans have ever heard, the suspect in that case is walking free, and his widow, the widow of one of the victims, is fighting for change.
I was informed by a knock on the door 6 o'clock in the morning on June 8th.
June 8th, 2005. Lieutenant Lou Allen was just 4 days into his deployment alongside his friend and commanding officer, Captain Philip Esposito. They were in Tikrit, Iraq. Their National Guard unit was operating out of one of Saddam Hussein's old palaces on a man-made lake. The two were playing a board game in Esposito's room when a mine exploded just outside the window. It killed them both. Investigators said the person who detonated that mine also threw grenades to make it look like an enemy attack. The focus quickly turned to Staff Sergeant Alberto Martinez. Several other soldiers said they heard Martinez repeatedly threatening Esposito in the days before.
Nobody acknowledged the warning signs. Martinez issued hundreds and hundreds of threats that he was going to do this, and nobody, not one single person, reported this.
Before his first court appearance, Martinez and his defense team signed an offer to plead guilty to charges of murder in exchange for a life sentence. But that wasn't enough for the court. It rejected the plea, opting instead to pursue the death penalty. 2.5 years later,
it was a very slow, drawn-out process.
After numerous delays and setbacks at trial, a jury found Martinez not guilty. A source close to the government's case says the judge botched the trial, saying decisions he made were wrong and unquestionably favored the defense.
He did it. He did it, and the government knows he did it. Trial counsel knows he did it.
I didn't do it. And to this day, people believe I did it, but nobody knows. I don't even know. I don't even know what happened.
Today, Alberto Martinez is a free man. We found him at home with his father in Troy, New York.
He's not going to give you no comment on that.
Okay. But Martinez did comment, struggling to explain why he signed a document in which he essentially admitted he was guilty.
There's a lot of issues behind that. I mean, pretty much I don't want to make no comments on that. I mean, there's a lot of legal stuff behind that, which nobody knows about.
He really was the center of my life.
Barbara Allen brought us to the cemetery where Lou is buried and told us why she's now fighting to protect his legacy.
As much as one person after another feels the need to remind me that he was a hero, well, you know, he deserves the Purple Heart.
But that's an uphill battle. The Purple Heart is an honor reserved for those wounded or killed by enemy fighters. Allen contends the man who killed her husband became an enemy fighter when he targeted his fellow troops with a mine that instructs the user to aim the front toward enemy. It's the title of a book she wrote in which she tells her story and pushes our military for change.
I propose that they create a second category of enemy called unconventional enemy. This would allow these people to be labeled. This would allow a very clear, concise definition of the term and that individual to be presented to our troops. And it would allow our military to train our troops to identify these unconventional enemies and take steps to stop them before this happens again.
Well, it's happened again. The Army refused to comment on the specifics of this case, but a spokesman says after the 2009 shooting at Fort Hood, quote, the Army has moved out on multiple fronts to improve security, including new programs that allow soldiers to report suspicious activities.